Welcome to the Sportscast, January 16th, 2020. If you haven't yet, please subscribe in all our channels, YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, and iTunes. And if you're in iTunes, please leave a rating and a review. It will help us out tremendously. And, of course, visit us on thesportscast.net, thesportscast.net. Major League Baseball. The slippery slope, the whole domino effect is continuing. Carlos Beltran, the only player named in MLB's investigation of the Houston Astros sign-steal scandal, is out as manager of the New York Mets before beginning his first season with the team. And joining us to flesh this out, Caillou, Borden. Welcome back to the Sportscast.
Thank you.
So, a lot going on in Major League Baseball, Caillou. What's happening? Why are people cheating? Why is Major League Baseball not getting this thing done earlier?
I think why are people cheating? I think the story is like Major League Baseball has always had a problem in terms of sign stealing, but it's always been in terms of guys decoding it, actually not using but so much outrage involved with it. Is because basically 2 of your last 3 championships has been tainted now. In 2017, you have guys wearing mics. In 2018, Al Cora, the bench coach of the Astros, goes on to take the Red Sox job. They're with Apple Watch. They were warned about it. They continue to use the use of technology. So I think there's a lot of outrage because the last 3 championships, the Yankees, the ALCS, all 4 losses were on the road. It's in Houston. A lot of people don't like the Astros because they carry themselves with arrogance. They think they invented the game. That has a lot to do with it. The Yankees fan base is really, really strong. They're pissed off about it. The first game we lost was 2-1 in Houston in 2017. It was a 7-game series. There's also allegations that they cheated in 2019 as well. And I think the outrage about it is Major League Baseball, the fact that they knew about it. The Yankees warned them in 2017, but they felt like it was just the Yankees complaining. I think it was right for them to fire Carlos Beltran because Carlos Beltran, he had a role in it. I think that he had a good role that people thought very highly of him, but I think this tarnishes a little bit of that. It's surprising that the Mets didn't ask him about an investigation that happened in 2017, and for them to say he was a player and you're doing an interview and you don't conduct background research into the guy, I think that was a bad day out of them. I think it was great for them to fire Alex Cora. I think it was well-deserved for you to go out there and cheat after they warned you in 2017, and then for you to cheat on top end in 2018. I think that was slapped in the face to the 29 other teams in Major League Baseball that is competing. I think that was a huge slap in the face for you to go about 2017. For you to be the only player, it's right for them to fire him. I think he should get a job until he completes the protocol in Major League Baseball. However, I do believe in second chances, but I don't think he should be on a short list of hiring anytime soon. I think he should take his year off and have to go through Major League Baseball again like everybody else. I wouldn't be surprised if he's banned from Major League Baseball. I heard that from Jeff Passan on SportsCenter, MLB's expert. I wouldn't be surprised if he's banned because the fact that he did it in 2017, he turned around and do it in 2018. And in terms of the Astros, the players knew. A lot of people were complaining about Mike Fiers coming out there and things. But I always say, like, in the corporate America, when you come out when you come out as allegations, everyone's trying to protect themselves. And I think it was right because it's in the best interest of the game. And I think that, Jeff Luna and the appropriate players, I think they let the players off too easy. But I also think it's a situation where Rob Manfred, what is he going to do to players? I think it's hard because the union is also going to support the players. I think he's also got to look for greater of everyone else in terms of if they should vacate the championship. I don't really know because vacating the championship to me is just like even though I'm a Yankee fan, I would love for that to happen. Vacating the championship to me is the NCAA. You can't take away the memories of it being won, and also the championship will forever be tainted. I don't know what they should do with the championship. But I also don't think it's fair to I don't know if they should take away the championship, and I don't know if they should keep the championship. I think the championship is tainted, but it's hard to really take away a championship when you can't erase the memories.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough situation for Major League Baseball. How much will this hurt the New York Mets?
I think that the Mets are in a precarious situation already. they hired a manager and you never asked them about this report, that they never asked about it, which is harder to find out that you conduct a job interview and you don't ask about these things. But again, it's typical Mets. In terms of how much it's going to affect them, in terms of how much would affect them, I think you should. I think the Astros. I think the Astros will be better off hiring an experienced manager to build back up a little bit of trust, if that's the right word for it. The Red Sox should definitely. And in terms of how much it will hurt the Mets, I don't really know how much it will hurt the Mets because Carlos Beltran's inexperienced. So I don't really know how much it's going to affect the Mets on the field because their reputation was already bad. So in terms of Carlos, I think it will affect his reputation more than, say, the Mets, because the Mets were already had a bad reputation. But I think it looks more frowned upon Carlos Beltran, who had such a high prestige in baseball. And then for him to be the only player in this investigation is serious.
Also on Tuesday, the Red Sox parted ways with Alex Cora, who was a bench coach for Houston during the 2017 World Series, which we mentioned before, and then they led Boston to title as manager in 2018. How much will this be a huge factor for Alex Cora? Like, is his career tainted?
I think his career. I do think that second chances are part of life, but I think his career will fairly be tainted. For Major League Baseball to be for him to be involved in the last three championships, for it to be tainted. And baseball is lucky now that the Nationals won, because it would look far worse if the Astros would have won and you have your last three championships thing. So I think this is forever a tarnish on Alex Cora. I think the year of suspension, if he's learned from it, gives the time off 3 years. But I wouldn't rule out Major League Baseball ban him just like they did with Pete Rose. They took that very seriously. This is very serious, and a lot of players are very upset about it. I think the Yankees losing in 7. I think a lot of that, the Dodger fans also feel like their championship. I don't think that they should give the championship to them. I think that's a petty championship. I think the LA is taking them to council for the championship. I think that's silly. I think it should be a no championship for no team. I don't think that they should necessarily award it to the Dodgers, because the Dodgers are there. Because you can make the case that if the Yankees in the ALCS, you can make the case that they would beat the Dodgers. You can make the case for the Dodgers. So I don't think they should do that. I think this should a huge tarnish score for you to do it in 2017, and then you to do the same behavior in 2018, using the same thing that you did over there with the Astros, and then going over to the Red Sox to do it. I think it's a huge damn to Alex Cora. I don't think he was very well liked by people. So I think this is a huge, tarnish to Alex Cora.
Do you think this will open up a can of worms? Do you think there'll be more players or teams getting in trouble for cheating? I mean, do you think this investigation will go further to other teams?
I think, Major League Baseball, when they first came out with it, they said that they were just investigating the Astros. And as of yesterday, they said that the Yankees were clear of it. So I think a lot of teams in Major League Baseball, a lot of shadiness goes on in Major League Baseball. It's always tough because people are always stealing signs, but they're decoding it. But once you use technology in Major League Baseball, and once you do what the Astros do, you clearly cross the line. Once you're installing center field cameras that wasn't there to focus on the catcher's crouch, and you're having a guy, literally probably an intern, no older, I don't want to think, but probably an intern like 20 years old. Once you have that guy relaying his signs, and then you're weighing technology and everything, that's where you clearly cross the line. It's one thing for you to pick up on the signs because you're brilliant, but once you start installing center field cameras, and then you do what the Red Sox using Apple Watches, and then you're using a bullpen phone to think that's when you just cross the line. I don't think there's a place for it in the game. So I think that Major League Baseball has to definitely do more. And I think that, as you're looking at the investigation, I think Major League Baseball just needs to nip this and either go all in with the technology and say everyone to themselves, which I don't condone cheating, but say everyone's all for themselves. Well, I have an actual policy I have an actual policy that you actually follow that's not laid out. Because Major League Baseball has a lot of rules, but they don't actually follow. Like the pitchers and catchers 6 mound visits, they don't actually follow it. So Major League Baseball could do a better job at tightening up the rules. And I actually think Major League Baseball, if they want to really nip this, they can make the owners fine. It's only $5 million. Owners are worth $1 billion, but if they want to really nip this in the thing, they could say our fine, we're going to raise our fine $100 million for the maximum consequence you can do. We're going to fine owner. If we find you guilty of this in the next CBA, we're going to fine you $100 million. If the next team that gets caught doing this, we're going to fine you pretty substantial $100 million. And then all those owners, they're not going to want to lose $100 million. They would have a sense of urgency to make sure that their managers and their coaches aren't out there doing this kind of behavior.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard the whole situation with the Apple Watches. So, yeah, baseball has an issue with the whole cheating thing. Things are starting to unravel. And, of course, Caillou will be staying on top of it for the next couple of months. Spring training starts in March, right? Or it's the next month?
Yeah, spring training starts in February. Around February, like the second week of February. So.
Yeah, and the season probably begins at the end of March, doesn't it?
Yeah, correct.
So things are kind of unraveling. Baseball season is about to start. So hopefully they'll close the loopholes. Sports, there's some players and teams that just want to win at all costs. It's very competitive, just like any other sport.
That's so true.
So let's move on to the NFL big divisional playoffs. Let's start with Minnesota losing against San Francisco 27-10. Caillou, you were live tweeting the game. What'd you think?
Oh, I actually, believe it or not, I actually was very impressed with Minnesota in the first half. But I was very impressed with Minnesota. They were only down by 1. A lot of people said that Minnesota didn't play well. To be honest with you, I was very impressed with Minnesota. I was very impressed with Kirk Cousins in the first half. This is a 14-10 game. I think that a lot of people are losing sight. Minnesota's coming off that huge win against the Vikings. I just felt like this is a situation where this isn't Minnesota's fault. I think the 49ers are just that good. I mean, I just think they're that good. And once Kirk Cousins, obviously they had the fumble. Kirk Cousins wasn't helped on that play. The special team play, Kirk Cousins, I think that this was a 2-score game. Obviously, in the first half, I felt like Minnesota played really well in the first half. In the second half, they were outscored 13-0, which made the score look a lot worse than it actually was. But I actually felt like Kirk Cousins played well in the first half. But I feel like Kirk Cousins, they have to rely on their running game a lot. So once you fall, I think it was a situation where once you fall behind 2 scores against a great Niners defense and you're forced to throw the ball against Nick Bosa and that front seven, DeForest Buckner and them, I think that's where Minnesota's a lot predicated on the running game. They don't want to fall behind by more than a touchdown, because if you fall behind by more than a touchdown, then you have to go away from the running game. And if you drop Kirk Cousins back 30, 35 times, I don't think they have as much success. So I think it's a situation where the 49ers are just that good. Coleman rushed for 2 touchdowns, 105 yards. I think this has more to do with just how good the 49ers are. They played a really, really good game plan. They got some pressure on Kirk Cousins. And I don't think this is a knock on Kirk Cousins. They had 6 sacks on Kirk Cousins, only allowed 147 yards. Jimmy Garoppolo played okay for his standards. I thought he played okay. So I feel like this is just a credit to the 49ers. That front seven is really loaded. They're going to be tough for my Packers to beat, but it's just a case where the 49ers are just that good.
For the Vikings, do you think they need to add some more components to the team, or do you think this team has a bright future ahead of themselves?
No, I think they have a bright future. I like their defense. Mike Zimmer's a really good coach. It's tough being in a conference. I think this is like what I was saying about the NFC. I think the 49ers are that good. I think it was tough for Russ. I think the Vikings are really good. Going on the road and beat the Saints on the road in a dome against a Hall of Fame quarterback in Sean Payton, Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, that defense going in that environment, I don't think it's really about adding for them. I think it's more of a situation where I think the NFC is just really stacked. I think they ran into a better team. They're the 60th. They're going on the road. You have to go play in New Orleans. You turn around and go play in San Francisco and Levi Stadium. I think it's just a situation where this game was got away from them, because once you fall behind 2 scores, it's really tough for you to run the ball. It's really tough for you to run the ball when you fall behind 2 scores. I think they're a run-first football team. They couldn't establish the run. They only had 21 yards rushing, and Kirk Cousins really relies on the running game so they can get the play action going. So I really think it was a situation of that. And I think that they have a bright future. They have a really good defense. Kirk Cousins will be back next year. Maybe they challenge in the division with Green Bay. I like the Vikings.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins has matured and grew this past season, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think Kirk Cousins, obviously a lot to do is about the Monday Night Football thing. I think most of that came with the Redskins. some of it, I think the NFC North game against Green Bay this year, I think that was his fault. Even though he didn't have Dalvin Cook, I felt like there was throws that he could have made that he didn't make. And I think a lot to do about the Monday Night Football stuff. It's just been sometimes he's played really, really bad, and sometimes he's also got a bad rep, I feel like, because he's played really well, but when he was in Washington, they didn't really have a team. So it looked like he played bad about his record when, in fact, it was just because he didn't have a team.
Let's go into Baltimore. Titans surprisingly beat the Baltimore Ravens 28-12. Caillou, is the Titans on a momentum streak?
I like what the Titans are doing. A lot of people are saying Ryan Tannehill. A lot of people are saying Ryan Tannehill is not doing much in the game. 7 of 14, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. But I feel like Ryan Tannehill against the Patriots, he made a 3rd and 8 throw. He only really had 80 yards total. But if you watch the game, when he's making throws and when he's just following the coach's game plan. He's not going to go out there and be very flashy, but I think he's just following the game plan. The game plan is to give the ball to Derrick Henry as much as you can and roll tight, ground and pound football, play really good defense, play really good special teams. Lamar Jackson was actually solid early. I feel like his receivers in the beginning of the game dropping passes. Willie Snead, I had him for a drop. Mark Andrews didn't play as well as he played all season. They came out sluggish in the first quarter. They never really got it going, 14-6. Then when they picked up in the second half, a lot of that came in garbage time. Lamar Jackson, 4 sacks. I mean, he missed some throws coupled with his receivers dropping passes early. Then he picked it up late, but it was just too late. They just couldn't stop Derrick Henry. He threw for a touchdown, ran for 195 yards, 30 carries. It just comes down to the Ravens were not ready at the beginning of the game, and Derrick Henry played out of his mind. And I almost think the Titans, even though it's going to be hard picking them against the Chiefs, I almost see a lot of 2007, 2011 Giants with this team. This team is just really fundamentally well coached from Mike Vrabel. They have a great running game with Derrick Henry. And although Ryan Tannehill doesn't throw for a lot of yards, he just makes plays when he has to. Whether it's with his legs or 3rd and 8, they set him up with 2nd and 6 because Derrick Henry rushes for 4 yards. They carry, they set him up, and then he just makes plays. 3rd and 6, he'll make that play, and then he uses Derrick Henry to set him up, and he just makes plays when he has to, despite having limited amount of success with the yards.
What was the issue with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson? I mean, is Lamar Jackson not a playoff quarterback, or he just did not have the weapons to make it happen?
I don't think it's not that he's not a playoff quarterback. A lot of people are saying it. I think next year, by the way, is going to be very important for him, because if they get a top seed next year, and as a rookie, you do have one. As a rookie, they do give you the benefit of doubt. But after this, having a top seed this year, I think that's a question for next year in terms of if he's a playoff quarterback or not. Because I think first he was a rookie, and then I feel like a lot of his passes in the beginning of the game was dropped. But if he comes out next year and looks like this, then I think you start to see questions about if he's a playoff quarterback, because it's usually by your 3rd year they start to question those things, because now that would mean he's 0-3 and he's had 2 top seeds. I think he's not blameless. I think there was a lot of throws that he missed. I think there was also throws that the receivers could have helped him. And I think there was throws that the receivers could have helped him with. I think there was throws that he missed. I think he got it going late. But it was a situation where they just couldn't stop Derrick Henry. I think this more had to do with Derrick Henry and their defense. I feel like the Ravens defense didn't come out prepared to play. I feel like they weren't physical enough to play. I feel like John Harbaugh and team, they weren't as physical in the ground and pound game. It's tough stopping Derrick Henry, but I feel like this has to do for me more with their defense. I feel like they weren't ready, equipped to play.
What if Mark Ingram was healthy? Would it make a huge difference?
I think he was. I think it probably would have made a huge difference in terms of I think it would have made a huge difference because the Ravens are a running football team. Lamar Jackson's a good thrower, but he's not a great thrower. So I think that it would have made a difference because obviously they rely on a running game a lot with the Ravens. I think it would have made a difference. But I think this more has to do with their defense. Even though Mark Ingram would have made it a difference, I think this more had to do with their defense. I didn't feel like the Ravens came ready to play. And I feel like they lost this game in the first half. They just weren't physical as they were in the regular season. Maybe the long layoff, maybe the week off for a veteran team like Green Bay or for those type of teams, it really helped. You saw with the 49ers, they came out. Even the Chiefs struggled, or even the Chiefs struggled a lot in the thing. I feel like I think teams with the bye have mixed success. Green Bay had success with the bye. They came out strong in the first quarter. You also saw that with the Niners. Teams that had trouble with the bye is the Ravens and the Chiefs. So I feel like it was more of a situation. It depends on like the team's identity in terms of how you come out after the bye.
Yeah, and for the Patriots, they definitely take advantage of the bye week. They definitely come back stronger, and I would definitely say Russ definitely saw with the Ravens. Let's go to Kansas City. Texans were up 24-0. Caillou. Chiefs came back with 40 unanswered points. What happened?
This game had multiple implications for me. I feel like, for one, giving up 4 touchdowns in the quarter, I don't want to call for coach to be fired, but Romeo Cannell giving up 48 points and 48 getting outscored 48-7 is just a really bad look. I don't think you could get outscored 48-7 in an NFL game. This game was really, I feel like Deshaun Watson going up 24-0, Bill O'Brien going for it up 24-7. That was just a really stupid decision. Come out of the gate, I felt like the Chiefs, Andy Reid was coming in 9-8 as a favorite in his playoff career. This is really huge for them. They had a lot of drop passes to Travis Kelce at the beginning of the game. First 2 possessions of the game, drop passes, ended the drive for Patrick Mahomes. He played really well. He was 4 of 10 at the end of the first quarter, but he also had 2 drops by Travis Kelce, and he had another drop. Can't remember who it was, but he had 2 very crucial drops. I felt Patrick Mahomes played really, really great. And something that stood out to me what he did was the whole time when the team was losing, he showed great leadership. When they were down 24-0, there's a clip of him on the sideline on NFL CBS. He did a really good job of things because Andy Reid was like, here we go again. And there was that moment there where I feel like Andy Reid, you could tell demons are starting to set in about his playoffs. He's a terrific coach. You could tell demons were starting to set in about his playoffs and how he can't get over the top. So I felt like Patrick Mahomes, game ball goes to him, A+ goes to him. He really was able to, not only with the stats, but with his leadership, was able to rally the troops. 23 for 35, 321 yards, 5 touchdowns, had 2 drops, so it should have been 25 for 35, had 2 drops at the first 2 ended of the drives. Watson played okay. He was great to start off the game. They were high flying. Then there was moments where he missed throws. Then there were moments where we had questionable play calling. So overall, I'd give him like a C. I think he needs a better coach than Bill O'Brien because in game, a lot of people made a lot to do about in the divisional round. I feel like he can be supported better. That was just a dumb game plan. After the Chiefs get a touchdown, you then turn around and decide to fake punt, give him short field position, and then for him to kick a field goal. For 1 minute he wants to be aggressive, the next minute he wants to be conservative. So I had multiple takeaways. I think Romeo Cannell, I think they need to support Deshaun Watson better. They got him a left tackle this year, Larry Tunsil, but they still need to continue to get an O-line. Sometimes he holds on to the ball too long, and sometimes they just don't give him a chance. So I feel like that was a takeaway. Bill O'Brien, he needs to be supported with a better coach. Romeo Cannell, it's time for them to part ways. They need to get another defensive coordinator up in there. Patrick Mahomes was just great. This was all about Patrick Mahomes. They had no answer for Travis Kelce. 10 catches, 134 yards, 3 touchdowns, 12 targets. They just had no answer for him. Continuously got the ball. They had no answer for him. Hopkins was okay. 9 catches, 118 yards. And this was just about Kansas City Chiefs advancing, Kansas City Chiefs blitzing with their offense in the second half. I wasn't really impressed with Kansas City too much because falling behind 24-0, it takes a lot to rally, but also how much can you rely on blitzing another team 48-7? It was a nice win, but still not really overall feel great about the team. It's a good win, but going forward, you can't really be down 24-0 plus and expect to win. It's going to get you through one round, but going forward, it's not really successful long term. In terms of the Texans' overall future, I think the Texans got to get Deshaun Watson a better coach up in there. They got to get a better defensive coordinator. They got to get more of a consistent running game. And frankly, they got to just get more help with the offensive line. The offensive line, he gets sacked way too much. Even though you want your quarterback to be great, he's being asked to be great way too much. Sometimes you don't know what the system is because it's just Deshaun Watson playing hero ball. And although it's great, it's going to win you around. It's very exciting. I just don't feel like there's an identity with this team. There's a lot to be decided about the identity. And Bill O'Brien's play call, it's just too much. And fake punting on 24/7, it just was not brilliant at all.
And there you have it. Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about Houston's coach needs to be replaced, but there's no sign of firing. A lot of coaches have been hired already, but hey, it's never too late. We'll see what happens up in Houston. Let's go to the game of the weekend. No, not really. Seattle lost against Green Bay. Green Bay looking confident.
Yeah.
28-23. Are the Packers Super Bowl contenders after this game?
Yeah, I think they're very much Super Bowl contenders. One of my couple of takeaways in this game, a lot of people talk about the Jimmy Graham spot, whether it was a first down, whether it was not a first down. And I think Seattle has no gripes to pick but themselves. I think it was a situation where they complained about it, but on the 3rd and 8 play with Devontae Adams, they weren't complaining then. And the reason why Seattle won the game, it's not easy for fans to get all mad about why you lost, Jimmy Graham. It wasn't a first down, and we don't think it was a first down. But Seattle lost this game because they really couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. Green Bay went 9 of 14 on 3rd down. Another reason why they lost this game, they couldn't stop Devontae Adams. Their corners, Griffin, had trouble stopping Devontae Adams all game. 8 catches, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. His long was a 40-yard touchdown. It should have been a catch, but there's no way he should have got a touchdown on that. 11 targets. Russell Wilson, hats off to the man. He really makes a lot to do with nothing. I mean, the Seattle running game was stifled the entire game. They had 110 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, but that many came from 64 yards of Russell Wilson. Outside of that, they have 46 yards combined as a team. Marshawn Lynch played okay. He was effective in short yards. He had 2 touchdowns. But hats off goes to Russell Wilson. He really makes a lot to do with nothing. Their offensive line, Joey Hunt, their center, really struggled. Their offensive line really struggled. 5 sacks. The Smith brothers, the Darius Smith and Preston Smith combined for 4 sacks, which was really huge for Green Bay. Picking those 2 guys up in the free agency was huge for my Packers. Replacing them with Clay Matthews, I thought that was an underrated move by the Packers general manager, Brian Gutekunst. I thought that was a really good signing by them. Aaron Jones had 2 touchdowns, 21 carries, 62 yards. He really played well, 20 and 21st touchdown of the year. Aaron Rodgers made plays when he had to. He had an 82.7 quarterback rating, which is not always the best stat for me, but in this case, he was really good. He had that deep pass, 2 completions in the last 2 drives, 2 huge 3rd down completions to keep Russell Wilson off the field because Russell Wilson was making a lot to do with things. We have 5 sacks on him. It could have been 7 or 8 if he wasn't a mobile quarterback. And thank God he was a mobile quarterback. Thank God Russell Wilson is mobile because I feel like he made great with an inconsistent running game. He only has 1 receiver in Tyler Lockett. Metcalf is on up and coming. I like him, but he only has 1 receiver. The offensive line, he has inconsistent running game. The defense is not getting off the field. We're 9 for 14 on 3rd down. Devontae Adams is going off 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers is completing a lot of passes. So hats off to Russell Wilson. And in terms of Green Bay, I think Green Bay definitely has a good shot to beat the 49ers. And I was really impressed with Green Bay's defense. Kenny Clark played really well, 4 sacks, 4 tackles, 1 sack, and a tackle for loss. The Smith brothers did their thing, 4 sacks. So I feel like Green Bay has definitely had a really, really good game plan. The 3 keys are Aaron Rodgers made 2 throws on 3rd down to end the game, keep Russell Wilson off the field. They went 9 for 14 on 3rd down. And the 3rd key was Green Bay's defense played really well against the run.
And there you have it. That is our divisional playoff recap. Let's go into college football before we head into NFL Championship Sunday predictions. LSU, champions of college football, defeated Clemson 42-25. It was a close first half, Caillou, but LSU flexed their muscles. What'd you think about the game?
I thought hats off to LSU. It was really their year. They was the best team in college football this year. I'm so proud of them. Ed Orgeron was able to beat Bama for the first time in a couple of years. Really, really proud. They have more ranked wins than any team. They were really good against all the ranked teams. Joe Burrow played exceptional. In the first quarter, I feel like he was just really adjusting. He got to a slow start. I feel like that had more to do with him than Clemson's defense. And I also came away with this. I feel like even though Clemson's defense is good, I don't think they're as good as the numbers say they are. And I know it's going to get a lot of pushback, but I think it's just a situation where I don't think their defense is great. I think their defense is good, but they were able to stop fall against the ACC because I feel like Ohio State had similar success against them. Justin Fields had the terrible which Olive was open. I feel like he had the terrible end to end the game. I feel like Clemson. I came away with Clemson's defense was just much to be actually rated. I feel like their defense is good, but it's not as great as the numbers made it out to be. LSU had minimal trouble going down the field. Jamar Chase, 9 catches, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. AJ Terrell was destroyed in the game. Justin Jefferson, 9 catches, 106 yards. They really got the running game going. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 16 carries, 110 yards. Joe Burrow with his legs, with his athleticism, which is great. 31 for 49, 463 yards, 5 touchdowns, 97 quarterback rating. I mean, LSU was just destined to win. In terms of, like, Trevor Lawrence, 18 for 37, 234 yards. Missed a lot of throws, was very inaccurate. I think he had 14 or so missed throws in this game. I just feel like LSU offensively, LSU offensively just could not be stopped. Patrick Queen played well for LSU's defense. 8 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, a sack. Phillips, 8 tackles, a tackle for a loss. Stevens, a tackle. DePelt played well. He was missed a lot of time on his ankle. He played really well. Stingley Jr., I was very impressed with that corner. He played really terrific. They were physical against Clemson's receivers. And I think it was a situation where LSU, I think LSU was destined to win this year. They were the best team in college football. Joe Burrow played his hats off. He played really well. Credit to Ed Orgeron. Credit to them. I know they lost Dave Miranda now, and they've lost Joe Brady. That's going to be 2 huge losses that we'll watch for next year. But LSU was just great. They deserved to win this game. They played like the better team from start to finish. Joe Burrow was in sync, whether it was with his legs, his arm. He was just in sync with the receivers the entire night, and I thought it was just a great end to the college football season.
And there you have it. I really do think LSU was definitely the best team, no doubt. And they're losing a lot of players to the NFL. So of course they got to capitalize on that moment. So we'll see what happens if LSU can continue. What I've been hearing, their additions and recruiting doesn't make up to what they're losing. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks for LSU, and obviously a whole lot of college recruiting in the next couple of weeks. I think the last signing the period will be next month in February, so we'll have Tyler Turner looking at that, but definitely looking towards the NFL draft. A lot of excitement for some teams like the Dolphins and the Bengals. So, anyways, anything else before we head into game predictions?
No.
Let's go into the AFC Championship game, Tennessee at Kansas City. Caillou, have you made up your mind, or do you think this game might be closer than what people think?
I have actually not made up my mind in terms of who I'm going to actually pick for this game. The Titans have a lot of momentum. They have a lot of momentum coming off those wins against the Patriots and the Ravens. I feel like they have a lot of Giants feel where they're just catching up on people in 2007 and 2011. Giants feel where they just snuck up and won the Super Bowl. I think it has a lot of that feel with the Titans. I think the story for the Titans this year has been Mike Vrabel benching Marcus Mariota. For him to have the guts and bench your number 2 overall pick in the 2015 draft for Ryan Tannehill, I think that takes a lot of guts. Organizations often don't want to do that because we know when you take a high pick, we want that guy to succeed. So I think this year for the Titans, it comes down to that for me. They've had the guts and Mike Vrabel to bench Marcus Mariota for Ryan Tannehill, and that's played huge dividends with them because Ryan Tannehill has been great in the play action game. A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry sets up Ryan Tannehill, and I think that works. I haven't determined who will win this game yet.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely will say the safest pick is Kansas City. My heart says Tennessee. I think they're able, but Kansas City has too many weapons, Caillou. We're talking about Kelsey. You got Mahomes. You got Williams. You got Tyreek Hill. So Tennessee has to stop one of these 3. You think?
No, but I also think that here's what Tennessee can do. I think early in the game, I think Tennessee can establish the running game. I think you can have a 7-play, 8-minute drive. That way you're eliminating Kansas City. I think if you watch this game, it's going to be very contrast of styles. The Titans are a running football team, power football. The Chiefs, I think conditions are going to have a lot to do with this game. It's expected to be 24 degrees in Arrowhead. So keep an eye on the Titans. Their style is running. The Chiefs' style is passing. I think if the Titans can get an early lead in this game, I think they can go ground and pound with Derrick Henry. They can have an 8-minute drive. Look out for them having a long drive in this game. That way they're shortening the amount of possessions that their defense is on the field. They're keeping their defense fresh. They're limiting Patrick Mahomes. Now if they get an early lead, maybe if they get an early 2-touchdown lead, they can start to melt the clock. And Kansas City would definitely have to go more at the pass, and they can definitely look to exercise the running game. I think one of the keys early in this game is going to be if the Titans can get off to a strong start, they can really melt the clock. 8-minute drive, 5-minute drives, really long drive. That way you're limiting the amount of time your defense is exposed. If the Chiefs come out and they run blitz and the Titans fall behind early, I think it's going to be a tough game for the Titans to come back because Ryan Tannehill is not asked to be trailing. Most of the time they're playing ahead or they're playing from one touchdown behind. I think Derrick Henry's having a lot of success because they're asking them when they're ahead. So it's a lot easier when you're ahead versus when you're down 2 touchdowns, because if you're down 2 touchdowns, your sense of urgency and you're relying on the pass more than you're relying on the run. So I don't think you can go to the running game as much. So I think I'll be watching for the contrast in styles. If the Titans can melt this up and make it a 24-17 game, they can definitely win this game. Now, if they're asking Ryan Tannehill, if Derrick Henry's not having much success, I think he will. But if he's not having much success and this game gets into a shootout, then I think the Titans have no chance. But I want to watch this game and see the contrast in styles before I actually put this
But
game.
if you had to lean on one team right now, who would you pick?
It's kind of tough because, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of tough because I want to go with the Chiefs, but I really wasn't.
Caillou, are you there?
Team like that, they're just going to ground and pound smash football. I really like how the Titans are playing. They're well coached. They're fundamentally sound. Ryan Tannehill makes enough throws when he has to. Derrick Henry's very physical. He's a man on a mission. 561 rushing yards through his first 4 career playoff games. That's an NFL rushing record. I mean, that's very huge. The Titans are on a mission right now. So I think this game's going to be tough to pick. If I had to go right now, I probably would lean towards the Chiefs, but I wouldn't count out the Titans. They're playing really, really well. And all that matters at this point in the season is if you're playing really, really well, and not a lot of people is really going to want to tackle Derrick Henry. He's really been tough to stop downhill in this playoffs. And this is really going to be tough to see the contrast of styles in terms of what actually wins, running football or actually throwing. So I think it was definitely going to depend on the style of play in this game.
Here's a fun note, guys. Titans they did beat the Chiefs earlier this year on November 10th, 35-32. So they have done it. Obviously, it was in Tennessee. But things will be different in Kansas City, much colder and definitely a hostile environment, according to Gronkowski. Let's go into the NFC Championship game. Your Green Bay Packers at the Niners. This is probably the 2 best teams in the NFC. Caillou, what are your thoughts so far?
I think Green Bay is going to have a really tough. It's going to be really tough for Green Bay. I think if they can get Jimmy Garoppolo to throw that turnover, it went unnoticed because they won 27-10 because of their defense. But Jimmy Garoppolo does tend to turn the ball over a lot, and that's not just in blowouts. Football perspective, which I follow, they said he throws a lot of interceptions when the game's in the balance, not just in blowouts. So if they can force Jimmy Garoppolo, Green Bay is a very opportunistic defense in terms of they like to create a lot of turnovers. So I think if Green Bay can do that, look for Green Bay to try to establish the running game. I feel like the 37-8 score in the beginning thing, it's gonna be more close, and I think Green Bay is actually gonna win this game. I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna have one of his best games in this game. I think that Green Bay will definitely try to go to the quick passing game early in the game just to wear out their defense. I think Green Bay will look to wear out their defense. I think they might have trouble running the football because the 49ers are really good front seven. They do a really good job at that. Devontae Adams is going to be covered by Richard Sherman. So what you should be watching for Green Bay is their second receivers, Kumaro, Alan Lazard, Jimmy Graham. Those guys are going to have to step up. I'll be watching for the 2, 3, 4 receivers because they're going to look to shut down Devontae Adams with Richard Sherman. So I'll be watching, can Green Bay get the running game going with Aaron Jones? Can they run against that front seven of the 49ers? Can their 2, 3, and 4 receivers step up, Jimmy Graham, Kumaro, and Alan Lazard? Because they're going to try to take Devontae Adams out the game. They're going to try to control the running game. So can those 2 things happen for Green Bay? And also 3, can they create a turnover against Jimmy Garoppolo. So I'll be watching those three things.
So what's your final pick?
No, I think I'm sticking with my Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna have one of his. I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna have one of his best pickup games of the playoffs. I think he's being counted out. I think there's a lot of doubt about Aaron Rodgers. The 49ers in 2005 could have drafted Aaron Rodgers. He was a little salty about that. So I definitely think Aaron Rodgers is gonna have one of his best games. Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna have one of his best games. He's from California. I think a lot of knock about them against the Chargers. How they were flat, the guys were partying. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to seek some revenge from 2005 when they didn't draft him. I think he's also a little salty with the media's narrative about him. He's coachable. Can he still play? I think the 37-8 score is very humbling for him. I think he's going to definitely watch the film. And I think Green Bay is definitely going to win this one in a close one. It's going to be very close. But I'm counting on Jimmy Garoppolo to have that key turnover. I think Green Bay is definitely going to be in position to win this game. But again, it's going to be really, really tough to win this game for Green Bay. It's going to be very, very close. I think it's going to be closer than the Seattle game. But I think Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to get it done because I think his legacy could really be enhanced with a second Super Bowl. And he hasn't been a Super Bowl in a while. And I think this is definitely going to be his year because he's only had 3 buys in his career. He's 1-2 in the NFC Championship. The last time was heartbreak on a Brandon Bostic fumble. So I think this is definitely Aaron Rodgers' opportunity to definitely get back in the Super Bowl.
They played already on November 24th. The Niners beat the Packers 37-8. So I hope that could be closer than that, right?
No, I think it's going to be really close. I think a lot to do with that. I think Green Bay, once you fall behind, I always say, once you fall behind against a pass rushing football team, I think all hell's going up. They added a couple of touchdowns late. The Packers lost their starting right tackle. And they were already behind, and it got further worse because their right tackle, Alex Light, was not able to hold up. And then once you fall behind early against a pass rush team, I think it's going to be very important for Green Bay to get off to a stronger start. I don't think it's going to be as worse a score because I feel like Green Bay really let some things go. I feel like they could have attacked it more in certain situations than they did. I think Matt LaFleur is going to have a better game plan the second time around seeing them. I think he'll definitely experiment with a 6 offensive lineman just to create. You'll have a less receiver, but I think he'll definitely look to pass protect. I think some takeaways from that, I think Green Bay could definitely look to have that 6 offensive lineman, definitely for more matchups for Jimmy Graham. And I definitely think I think their defense will be much more better to play this time around.
And there you have it. Caillou so far tentatively is predicting a Green Bay and Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl, which I believe that was the original Super Bowl, so that'll brings in some high ratings. But we'll see what happens.
The Green Bay one is final. The Green Bay one is final, but the Chiefs is tentative.
Tentative, yeah. Random question, which was yesterday. What is your favorite bagel? Is it plain, cinnamon raisin, multigrain, or sesame? What is your favorite bagel?
I loved it. I love this question. I'm going to go definitely cinnamon raisin. Nothing tops a cinnamon raisin bagel from Dunkin' Donuts. I love it. I saw the question yesterday, and I was actually hoping you asked me that question because I really like that question. But definitely cinnamon raisin, no doubt.
Which cinnamon raisin is won the poll at 47.8%. Plain and sesame were tied at 26.1%, and multigrain got 0. So definitely cinnamon raisin is a pretty popular bagel flavor. Do you put cream cheese in it?
Oh, of course, I have to.
Cream cheese and toasted. That's how I would do it. Caillou, what is the best way to reach you to talk to you about Jimmy Garoppolo?
They can reach me at Caillou Borden 12 on Twitter and at Caillou Borden 12 also on Instagram.
And you can follow us on thesportscast.net or on Twitter at thesportscast1. We'll be live tweeting Championship Sunday. Pretty excited. We'll see if there's any upsets or will the favorites win. Super Bowl will be in Miami in 2 weeks from this weekend, so it should be pretty exciting. Warm weather. The game in San Francisco is not as cold, but the one in Kansas City is super cold. So we'll be definitely be catching up and see what's happening. Very exciting postseason. We'll see if the Titans train continue. Anyways, Caillou, that's all I have today. Have a good night.
Thank you so much.